You are 31. The raise came through this morning. 11,000 more a year. You stared at the email, waiting to feel it. You felt it for about a week. Knew everything. A better apartment, the phone you'd been eyeing, the grocery run where, for once, you didn't check prices. Then around week 3, it went quiet. The apartment became just the apartment. The phone became just the phone. And the raise stopped feeling like a raise. It started feeling like the floor. You're not broke. You'd never call yourself broke. But you earn 11,000 more than you did in March. And tonight, you're doing the same Friday night math you did before it, hoping the number's bigger than you're afraid it is. Here's what nobody told you. This happens with the next raise too, and the one after that. You could double your income and be standing in this exact spot, feeling exactly this. And before you decide this is about other people who are bad with money, it isn't. It's happening to you because of something your brain does automatically, to everyone, the moment the money lands. Most people never find out what it's called. Tonight, you will. Rewind. You're 24. First real job. First real raise. 4,000 a year. You feel like you made it. For about a week. Then the upgrades start. Each one small. Each one reasonable. The nicer coffee. The streaming tier without ads. Lunch out on Thursdays because you've earned it. None of it feels like spending. It feels like finally living a little. 6 months later, the 4,000's gone. Not wasted, absorbed, dissolved into a slightly better version of the same life. And here's the strange part. That better life doesn't feel better anymore. It feels normal. You already need the next raise. This has a name. It's called hedonic adaptation. And it isn't a crack in your willpower. It's the factory setting of the human brain. Whatever you get, your mind quietly resets the baseline to match it. The new apartment becomes the apartment. The raise becomes the salary. Pleasure was never a place you arrive. It's a treadmill that speeds up to match your pace. Psychologists have a blunter name for the money version: lifestyle creep. Your spending rises to swallow your income every time. And your brain hides the evidence by calling the result normal. You don't know it yet, but you'll fight this exact feeling for the next 10 years. You're 27, same job, bigger paycheck, and a coworker named Theo, who started the same month you did. Theo just upgraded everything: the car, the watch, the apartment with the rooftop. And every time Theo levels up, you feel a small pull to match it. Not jealousy exactly, something quieter, a sense that the bar just moved, and you're standing below it. That pull has a name too. Your brain doesn't measure how much you have, it measures the gap between what you have and what's around you. That moving line is your reference point, and the cruel trick is it never holds still. Get the raise, it moves up. Watch Theo upgrade, it moves up again. You can earn more every year and feel poorer every year because the only number your brain reacts to is the distance between you and the bar keeps rising. So you upgrade a little, a better car, a nicer place, and the relief lasts exactly as long as it did at 24, about a week. What you don't see is Theo. He's one beat ahead of you on the same treadmill. He pulls into the lot. 2 guys come over to look at the car, and for 10 seconds, he feels like he's pulling ahead. Then the 10 seconds end. You catch his face once, in the elevator, when he thinks no one's looking. He doesn't look like a man who's winning. He looks tired. You don't know it yet, but Theo is about to teach you the most expensive lesson of the whole story, without saying a word. Here's the part nobody warns you about. You think the treadmill just fails to make you happier, that you run and stay flat. That would be survivable. It's worse than that. In 1978, three psychologists tracked down a group of major lottery winners and compared them to ordinary people who hadn't won anything. The winners, you'd assume, were floating. They weren't. They were barely happier than the control group. But that's not the part that should stop you. The winners reported taking less pleasure in ordinary things than the people who hadn't won. Morning coffee, a conversation with a friend, a good meal. The small stuff dimmed. Because once your brain's been handed a peak, everything below it gets re-rated as gray. That's the real bill. The treadmill doesn't just refuse to lift you, it turns down the volume on the pleasures you already had, the ones that were free. The upgrade you bought to feel more, it didn't just fade, it made the old, ordinary, no-cost joys feel like less. You paid money to feel less. That's the contrast cost, and almost nobody sees it because it happens in the background, one upgrade at a time. And now, you understand Theo's face in the elevator. You're 31 again, back at the kitchen table, the raise that already feels like the floor. The next morning, the office kitchen. There's a woman named Dana, late 50s. She's been here longer than anyone. She drives a car older than half the parking lot, and she's never once seemed worried about anything. You ask her, half joking, how she stays so calm when everyone else is sprinting. Dana doesn't laugh. She pours her coffee, and she says, "There's a difference between looking like you made it and actually making it. Almost nobody knows which one they're chasing." Then she goes back to her desk. You don't. That night, you do a different kind of math. Not this month's math, the math of the machine. You realize the raise was never going to fix the feeling, because the feeling was never about the amount. It was about a baseline that climbs to meet every number you feed it. You can't out-earn a treadmill. You can only step off it, on purpose. You don't know it yet, but the people who actually feel rich didn't earn their way there. They did something that sounds almost backwards. Here's what stepping off looks like. It isn't discipline. Discipline loses to your own brain every time. It's a system that runs whether you feel like it or not. 1. Bank the gap before it lands. The next raise, the next bonus, the next "I deserve this." You decide where it goes before it hits your account, not after. The day the 11,000 starts, the difference is automated out of reach. Same morning, every month. You never see it. You never adapt to it. The treadmill can't speed up to match money it never touches. Pay the future version of you first, before rent, before the upgrade, before anything. 2. Make one ordinary thing sacred. The lottery winners lost the small pleasures because they stopped noticing them. So you do the opposite, on purpose. One ordinary thing, the morning coffee, the walk, the Sunday with the phone off, that you protect and actually pay attention to. Adaptation runs on autopilot. Attention is how you turn the volume back up. 3. Buy time, not signals. Theo's car spoke to the parking lot. The boring index fund you started instead speaks to no one. It just quietly buys back your Friday nights, 1 year at a time. One of them owes you money every month for the rest of your life. The other owed Theo $800 a month, and a face he couldn't show in the elevator. You didn't quit. You didn't make a speech. You just stopped feeding the treadmill and started feeding the future. The raise was never going to make you feel rich. Nothing you earn will, as long as your baseline keeps moving with it. Rich isn't a number you hit. It's the gap you stop letting close. Maybe you already automate that gap. Maybe you're the one who got the raise this morning, felt nothing, and didn't know why. Maybe you're Theo. Either way, the treadmill is running right now, whether you can feel it or not. The only question is whether you're still on it. If you want to see exactly how to automate that gap, the system, not the willpower, that's the next video. Subscribe, and I'll show you the setup.